All right, back with another mock draft reaction. We're going Bucky Brooks here, who I should mention, if you want to hear more of his thoughts, there's the article I'm going to talk about here on NFL.com, and also if you want to, hear him kind of explain it more, he does on YouTube. If you search Bucky Brooks mock draft, it'll come up of I think like a 40-minute video of him going into deeper thoughts about some of these things. So I'm sure there will be a take or two that were like, what happened there? If you want to check out more of that stuff, definitely do. But yeah, first let's get into my reaction to the list that he has. And Caleb Williams is 1, Jaden Daniels is 2. Daniels and May are going to be kind of interchangeable on a lot of these mock drafts. It's one or the other. So Brooks is going with Daniels at 2, which I'm assuming means Patriots snag up. No, okay, I spoke too soon. The Patriots do not select Drake May. They go J.J. McCarthy, which, that's a risk. It is. Now, I know it's irrational. The Patriots going after another Michigan quarterback makes you feel a little bit better about it, but that's totally irrational. I don't know. I like Daniels. I like McCarthy. I like May a lot more. I'll just say that. But quarterbacks are hard, and if you fall in love with a guy, it's not the worst thing in the world to say, hey, I'm going to take this guy instead. But, interesting. So the Cardinals end up with Marvin Harrison Jr., which I do think they will go with here. So Cardinals get their guy. Chargers, I think a lot of Chargers fans aren't crazy about the Joe Alt thing. I mocked this in my what I would do mock draft. I really like Joe Alt. I think he's a great player, and I think getting him at number 5 is totally worth it. But is it more worth it than a Malik Neighbors? Because, for example, in my mock draft, Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison were off the board. I did not have the Patriots going quarterback. Here, with the Patriots going quarterback, Neighbors is certainly an option, but I wouldn't hate Joe Alt even if Neighbors was on the board. Although I think then I would go with Neighbors personally. Neighbors goes at 6 to the Giants. So, Giants are kind of in a good spot where it feels like they're going to get a good player. Maybe they'll trade up for a quarterback. Maybe they'll sit back and draft a quarterback. But if they decide not to go quarterback, you're kind of sometimes in a good spot when you're in the Giants or the Titans or the Chargers scenario where you're just like, we're just going to get a great player. Like, maybe we won't get the quarterback. Obviously, the Cardinals are in that mix as well. Like, we'll just get a great player. Maybe it won't be the quarterback, but we're fine. Whichever great player falls to us, we'll take. Number 7. This is twice now I've done this. Spoke too soon. No, Titans do not select Olu Fashanu. I like Olu Fashanu a lot. I don't like him more than Romeo Dunze. That feels like a reach based on need, which the Titans have way too many needs to focus on filling up needs. They should be focusing on best player available, in my opinion. That's how I view it, is you're getting a worse player if you draft for need. Yes, they need tackle, but at this point, I would trade down if you really want to. 8, so Atlanta, again, kind of the same thing. They're going after an edge rusher. They're at least more competitive, I would say, so it's not as bad of a decision to draft for need when you're trying to make the playoffs, and maybe the Titans are trying to make the playoffs. They did do a lot of good, interesting moves this offseason, so maybe I'm being too hard on them, but I don't know. I'd rather Odunze in that offense than Fashanu, draft a guy in round 2, but, I won't be hung up on that too long. Let's move on to number 9. I think the Bears would be very happy with Odunze. And hey, maybe Brooks just doesn't think Odunze is as good as I do. Maybe it's that simple. Maybe he thinks Fashanu is, the next highest player on his board, and he's like, no, draft him here. Okay, perhaps. I know my podcast co-host Kyle is also really high on him. But I do think that if the Bears are here at 9 and Odunze falls, which is something I've seen before, like it's not like that crazy of a take that he could fall. Like, what if another quarterback goes early or something like that? It's possible. Because, wait, so has Drake May been drafted? So Drake May has not been drafted yet. I kind of just put that together. So that's quite the fall for Drake May. Let's see where he will end up. Not at 10, of course. The Jets have they get Brock Bowers. They have Aaron Rodgers, of course. So, yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. I've seen that mock before. No real surprise there. Now the Vikings get Drake May. I think they'd feel okay about this. I think Vikings fans would feel pretty good. Listen, I get Drake May has some issues on tape. I get that there are some flaws, but I don't know. I'm more willing to forgive a 21-year-old making some poor reads than a 23-year-old making some poor reads. It just is what it is. He's a young player. Usually when you're a young player and you make these mistakes, you end up succeeding. I don't think he is the 11th best prospect in this draft class. That's just how I view it. But I've been wrong before. Maybe I'm wrong here. Broncos, Jared Verse. Okay. an interesting pick. I don't think it's like bad value or anything. Yeah, sure, that makes sense to me. Talise Fuaga for the Raiders, they could use an offensive lineman. Again, they could have maybe gone quarterback, but with a bunch of them already off the board. With four of them off the board at this point, might not feel like it's worth it. So going with tackle, maybe get a quarterback in a later round. J.C. Latham, sure. Saints going with offensive lineman. We then get to the Quinyon Mitchell. Everyone seems to have Quinyon Mitchell in pick 15. Seahawks, everyone seems to have them going offensive line here, and Jaguars seems like everyone's having them go corner here. 18 is where things get interesting, as we see Brian Thomas is so. I mean, I've compared him to like a T. Higgins type guy, and I've said the best situation for him to succeed would be next to Jamar Chase in a T. Higgins type role. But I think they're going to keep T. Higgins. I mean, T. Higgins said he believes he'll play for the Bengals next year. So that's the question. But at the same time, like, the Bengals do kind of have a new age mindset when it comes to football of like, you got to have a good passing attack. Like, that's what matters most, and you need good receivers to do that. So maybe they do go out, get Brian Thomas, and if T. Higgins does play on a tag or something, and then they if Brian Thomas looks awesome, then they end up letting T. Higgins walk. If Brian Thomas isn't awesome, then they pay T. Higgins, something like that. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Don't hate that. It's a surprise. It'd be a hot take, but I don't hate it. Rams going Byron Murphy Jr., sure. Get the Aaron Donald replacement, put Murphy Jr. next to Kobe Turner. If you watch when I created a fake NFL franchise, I drafted Kobe Turner last year, and then this year I did draft Byron Murphy. So I guess the Rams and I in lockstep there. Number 20, Armarius Mims, sure. I like Armarius Mims. I think he's a good player. Would help out the Steelers. Jackson Powers Johnson, again, I think I would probably draft Jackson Powers Johnson first if I'm the Steelers, but okay. We can debate that left and right. It is what it is. Kool-Aid McKinstry, yep, big fan of him. Going to the Eagles would make sense. Cooper DeJean, which, again, whoever's highest on your board for the Vikings feels like the right move at that point. And Graham Barton to the Cowboys, who desperately need a center, but he's also a good player and worth pick 24. Peyton Wilson goes. This is the first mock draft I've done where he's been drafted. I'm not crazy about Peyton Wilson. I talked about it on the podcast. He's just not my favorite prospect personally, so I wouldn't draft him at pick 25. I just wouldn't. They could use a linebacker, a replacement for Campbell, but I don't know. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers go Le'Veon Bell. Big fan of this pick. As a Bucs fan, I would be thrilled. I think he's a great edge rusher. It's a position of need. I think he should go way before pick 26. Darius Robinson to the Cardinals. Again, I'm not as crazy on Robinson as some other people are personally, but okay, fine. Zerzan, I still don't know how to say his name, which is a shame because he's such a good player. Newton here for the Bills is a really quality player for them, and would be a really quality player for them. I like this move a lot. I think he's a really underrated player. Lions going Chop Robinson. I've done that in my previous mock drafts. I think that works. Ravens, Tyler Guyton. Wouldn't probably be the move I'd make, but fine. I would understand it personally. I just think there's better players still available. Finally, Nate Wiggins, corner for the 49ers, which I suppose they could use a corner. Yeah, that's not crazy. I think, offensive line is probably what they want, but if so many offensive linemen are off the board, might not be worth it at that point. And then finally, 32, Kamari Laster, who is, a corner who, listen, if you want to spend a first-round pick on him, you want to spend a first-round pick on him. That's fine. For the Chiefs, it feels like they're in a position where drafting for need isn't the worst thing in the world, and I feel like I keep hearing they need a corner, they need to replace the corner they just lost. But I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm looking at the roster, they have depth. That's part of why they made the trade. That's part of what they were doing there. So letting Snead go is because they had the depth. So I don't know if they need to draft another guy. I just don't think that's what they have to do. I think that, tackle and wide receiver are bigger needs, but maybe they just like Laster better than the other players. So I don't know. But yeah, that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.